Now, there's another one I want to thank. I owe him a thank you, who put his shoulder up against mine 3 years ago. He called me up in front of you and told me, this man's fighting your fight, help him do it. And you did, and like I said, we won. But it's been welded. His shoulder's been welded to mine for those 3 years ever since. We've been all over this country together, and and that wears thin on a body. You guys know Peymon. You know that after about 30 minutes you start to get tired, because it's he's very energetic, but it's that kind of energy that's going to put us over the top. And we spent a week traveling Florida, and we played to groups because of the slam and the smear campaign that hurt that project. We played to groups as small as 6 and 7 people had showed up. And yet this man stood up there and talked like he was talking to 5,000 people, because those 6 people meant as much to him as 5,000 people would have. Every one of us is important in this movement, and he knows that. And he's going to keep doing just like I am, because he doesn't know anything else to do but to fight, to swing, and keep swinging until you go down fighting or you end up emerge victorious. So I'm proud to have an opportunity to introduce to you the host of this event, Peymon Mottahedeh. Bring him on.
Thank you for that introduction, Tom. It was a pleasure and honor for me, folks, to assist Tom Cryer when he called us several years ago when the government was trying to put him away because he stood up for the truth. And he wanted to, get some assistance because the government, they don't care how they close you down. They just want to close you down so that they can control the people. And so it's great that we're working together, folks. And before I go into the topic of my speech about the final part of how to live free of oppressive taxation and control, I want to first acknowledge a couple of people. One of them is the late Dr. Robert Clarkson. How many of you know who Dr. Clarkson was? As a show of hands. Well, he passed away March 1st, unfortunately, of stomach cancer. It was discovered too late to do anything about it. And as a result, by the time I even talked to him, he was not even able to speak very clearly. And so he was not able to do anything really about his situation. So, but funny thing is that about the same time, I heard from another good friend of mine, another speaker we had at these conferences, Ted Gunnarsson, former head of FBI's Los Angeles and Dallas office, who's spoken at these conferences about FBI, CIA corruption. And I heard from another source that he's got cancer. So I called him, and I found out that's true, that's the case. So I immediately three-wayed him with my friend Greg, you guys saw here. And I said, Ted, you've seen Greg, you know who he is, and he's gonna turn you on to the people. You don't want to do the chemotherapy, all these stuff that destroy your body's immune system. He says, yes, I know. And so he's been now working on regaining his health back. So hopefully he will do so, and he's been unable to really assist others the way he has in the past, because he's actually basically a volunteer, help out whoever he can out there. That's what he does. He spends his government pension, his retirement check from FBI to help people out there. So he did something that I think you may want to support, and that is he's putting the entire archives of his investigative reports on CD, over 6,000 pages, available for $35 donation. If you go outside this door, there's a gentleman in blue shirt, and he's the one that has that available. So this is a very important information and research that he's put together about what's going on with government corruption, with the FBI, with the CIA. He found out about these things, unfortunately, after he left the IRS, not before. And so do what you can, folks, to help the helpless individual make it, because, folks, these are people are national treasures. Too many people in the freedom movement are not taking care of their health, the leaders, and if they're not healthy, they cannot be around to help us to achieve freedom. So your assistance would be welcome. Okay, speaking about the IRS, let me just get a show of hands. How many people in this audience fill out 1040 forms on April 15th? 1040 tax returns on April 15th. Okay, just go keep it up. Let me see, let's get a rough count. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, blah, blah. So about 20. How many of you don't? Let's get a shot. Okay, all right. Okay, a little bit more, maybe 65 to 35%. 2/3 of you don't, and 1/3 of you do. Well, the IRS is a unique issue in that the game is stacked against the people from the get-go. And this is what I hear a lot. You're going to hear it a lot on radio. They talk about, with the IRS, you're guilty until proven innocent. You heard that saying? And people say, well, that runs counter to all the principles of justice. Well, how could that be? How could we have a government operation that comes after you and you're guilty from the get-go? That doesn't even make sense. Why? How did they do it? Well, the surprising answer is they did it with your assistance. And you're wondering, well, how could that be? Well, I've written an article about this, which you can get free on our website at livefreenow.org. At this conference, so it's available free. You can pick it up. But if you go there to our website, livefreenow.org, and under educational material, under frequently asked questions, this article is there. And what I basically point out on the article is this: that when someone files a 1040 form, that form, as we talked about this weekend, is signed under penalty of perjury as true, correct, and complete. The person claims that they received, say, $60,000 of gross revenue, $20,000 of business expenses, $10,000 of deductions of whatever sort, home mortgage or whatever they want to claim. So their net taxable income is based upon $30,000. That's just one example. I'm just making it up. Now, in this scenario, the individual admitted that they owe the IRS the tax based upon $60,000, not $30,000. You think you say you owe the tax on $30,000, but that's not true. You owe the tax on the entire gross amount of $60,000. You get to only pay the tax on the $30,000 after expenses, after deductions, only if the IRS doesn't challenge you on it, and only if they do challenge you and you're able to provide the proof, all the documentation you must have, the way they want you to have it. Annual calculations must be done per all the rules and regulations that they say. So this is why the game is rigged. Because what they do is they say, well, gee, we don't like this expense or deduction that you're claiming, Now you have to prove everything, all your expenses, all your deductions. I remember back in 1992 when I was new to this tax honesty movement, and I was speaking with an attorney who I was in his office interpreting Persian language for one of his clients. And I started telling him about the IRS, and he said, "Oh, don't tell me no more. I've been with the audit from IRS from hell for the last year and a half. I had to pay my own CPA already over $100,000 to defend me, and we're not even close to being over. That's how much you have to pay to his CPA to defend him. Far from over." Now, you can imagine the dispute obviously was something much larger than $100,000, that he was willing to spend $100,000, and it's far from over. But why? Because the entire gross receipts of his business that he reported is his taxable income. He has to now show that, well, I had this much expenses, I had all this deductions, and you got tax me on this only. And you see, he was doing fine for many years until, bingo, his number was picked out the hat. Why was his number picked up out the hat? I don't know. A luck of the draw, perhaps, is very often the answer. It doesn't have to be a reason. They got to pick somebody. So they pick on you this year, they pick on her next year, and him the following year. That's how it works. I was speaking with the guy that used to get our trophies for our speakers that we recognize at these conferences. About 13 years ago in Orange County. And I was telling him about the IRS. He's same thing. "Oh, don't tell me about them. I know about them." Well, why? What is it? What was your story? Well, the IRS audited me and claimed that I owed them $20,000. We went with him, met with him at the audit with our people, and it was an attorney or CP, I don't remember. I think it was an attorney. And the IRS admitted they were wrong. We were allowed to have those, deductions, expenses, whatever that was. That they were wrong, and they said we're going to back off. Then the IRS didn't back off. They sent us a notice of deficiency in which we had to go to tax court. And to go to tax court, the lawyer said it will cost $10,000, if not more, to defend me. And the lawyer said, "Look, you're going to pay me $10,000, maybe more, to defend a $20,000 case. Do you want to risk that all the time, hassle, potential risk? And you might be better off just paying them off." And he thought about it. He said, "Yeah, I guess I'm going to do that." He paid $10,000 that he did not have to pay just because to get these guys off his back. So this is a situation the filers find themselves in America. And the wondering, why is the game like this? Well, this is the reason. They start with your own 1040 confession form, your gross receipts. So the situation, of course, is not as bad if you're, let's say, simple wage earner, single guy, no home, no kids. There's no deduction or expense. But on the other hand, if you get a business owner, a professional, especially someone with some employees, some property, investment, real estate, the more things you got, depreciation tables, amortization tables, a table for this, and table for that. You can write this off this year, so much. Next year, this much. You can do this one, carry this one forward, carry this one backward. Those are the cases where the IRS crucifies people. Okay? Because if you haven't done them right, per the way the IRS thinks it should be done, then it can get you. In fact, your interpretation and their interpretation could both be valid, And the IRS will say, well, you're wrong, we're right. Even though it could be seen both ways. So what is a solution to this? Well, the solution is already found out by, as you saw in this particular room, 2 out of 3 people who don't file. Whereas in the general public, you find that 1 out of 3 people don't file. 2 out of 3 do file. And that is, if you don't give that information on the 1040 income tax confession form, which they call the return, but it's not a return, it's a confession form. If you don't rat on yourself and give that information under oath that is true, correct, and complete, that you owe all this money, now they're not going to assess the taxes on you based upon what you said under oath on your 1040 form, because you didn't say anything on that form. Now, if they want to come after you, they can. What they're going to need to do is to come after you and say, okay, we believe you have this much taxable income, and therefore you owe this much amount. They can do that. But guess what? The difference is now the burden of proof is on the IRS, not the citizen. Now, this is something that you're not taught in high school, okay, or university. But it is. The burden of proof is on the IRS when it comes to the IRS code and when it comes to also the court cases. Now, the government must come forward with some evidence of that. And a simple W-2 or 1099 form, for example, is not enough. They got to provide some real, more admissible evidence in the court that you had received that income. And if they cannot do that, they lose. And the lost cases, many times, it's just that they don't publicize it. Because if they do that, guess what's going to happen? More people are going to discover that, wait a minute, you know, I could beat these guys, you know. And it's not on the argument about legality of income tax. Because as you know, the problem is when you make an argument about legality of income tax, the government-paid, government-biased judges do not want to rule in your favor, and they will not. No matter how good your argument is based upon the U.S. Constitution, based upon the plain language of Supreme Court cases, or IRS's own codes, or regulations. They won't do it. If you ever go to the court and argue that the average person does not have to file and pay income tax, he's like a little kid walking to the big stadium with the emperor and starts shouting, look, the emperor's wearing no clothes. He's naked. Right? And he is naked. He's not wearing clothes. But they cannot admit to it because it's been going on for so long, such a fraud, that everybody ignores it. The only difference is the bottom half of the emperor can be seen only by the lawyers, the people that read the law. The average person does not read the law. Where he stands, the top half of him got clothes, but it's the bottom half that doesn't have clothes on. Okay? So unless you see what the truth underneath that the average person doesn't know and doesn't look, you would think everything's fine. So this is something I discovered way back. It was about 1996 it was. In fact, it was an IRS agent that told me this. His name is Curtis Wynn. He was one of my students. He's retired now. And he said, Peymon, you know, do you know about this court case? You know, that the IRS, when it comes to unreported income cases, when that person does not report and confess their own returns, that the burden of proof is on the IRS? I said, no. And I read it, and I said, whoa, this is amazing. Why isn't this taught? So that's the issue that's going on out there. And of course, another part of the whole game with the IRS is a psychological one. Now you might think, where is the psychology? Isn't it based upon force? Well, they got force all right, but really the IRS has to play this game by psychology because the force alone cannot subdue a people. If you go to the catalog of Freedom Law School, the Freedom Catalog 2009, and if you don't have it, they're available at the Freedom Law School table outside. On page 13, you see a page called IRS, the Wizard of Oz. And this comes from IRS Commissioner's own webpage, the guy at the top of the IRS. And according to the IRS itself, the IRS, this is in as of 2008. Maybe it's a couple-year-old information. IRS received $2.4 trillion of revenues and has a budget of approximately $11 billion. To the average person, it seems like, okay, so what? Who cares? Next page. But to me, who I was very good at math and liked math, I saw something very important here. If you divide the numbers of $11 billion they spent to collect $2.4 trillion, you'll notice that for every $1,000 that the IRS collects, they only spend $5. Now, how many people in this room are business owners or professionals of any kind? You got your own. Can't see show hands? Let me get an idea. Yeah? Come on, raise your hand. Now, any of you guys got your hands up? Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up if you know how to spend less than $5 to raise $1,000 of net. No? Nobody can do it, huh? Hell of a profitable business, huh? Spend less than $5 and raise $1,000. How can I do it? Well, the way they do it is this, and I got the answer from a guy who is a hemp legalization democratic liberal activist. He said, Peymon, most Americans pay their taxes not because they're afraid of the government, because they believe it's their patriotic duty. They love the government. They think it's their parent, it's their mommy, daddy. It protects them from criminals and terrorists. And they think without the government, we'd be not free. That's what they think. So they're happy to pay their fair share to protect and preserve the freedom they got. But the reality of it is, basically, that people are so entertained, so mesmerized, so brainwashed by major media and all the entertainment that's available that people are just, buying whatever they're told. Not different really much from the times of Roman Empire, where they fed the people to the lions and gladiators, keep them happy. And that's why we have football stadiums full of 10,000 people across America every weekend. Right? Yet when we have a conference like this, mailed out over 12,000 brochures, 10,000 more passed out by activists, we get maybe a few hundred people. Because they're not interested in this stuff. They're interested in football and baseball. Then when they see that, Obama is the bad guy, Saddam is the bad guy, Ahmadinejad is the bad guy, we got to go kill them all. They say, let's go kill them because they're bad guys. They don't stop to think and analyze, wait a minute, maybe these guys are bad guys, maybe not bad guys. Even if they are, maybe they're not even a threat to us. Why should we go killing people in all these wars? Why should we work and pay taxes for these wars? Folks, that's the biggest part of the federal budget is the Department of War. They misnamed it the Department of Defense. Think about it, folks. This is like 1984 by George Orwell. The war is peace. Truth, black is white. Okay? The Department of War, none of these wars that America is involved in is to defend the United States. None of them. They're not invading us from Mexico or Canada or through the sea. None of it. They're out there killing a bunch of innocent people out there in the name of, if you don't stop them now, they're going to come here. Which is not true. Okay? It's wars for money, for the bankers and the oil companies and other powerful moneyed interests. So, with that in mind, the IRS has to rely upon people's belief in the government. And that's critical. See, in Iran, you don't have that situation. In Iran, a lot of people know the government is lying. That's why they got on the streets. You heard since June of last year, millions of people got on the streets, and they really had to repress them very hard, despite the government's propaganda. Here we don't have that, because most people believe in the government, just they don't think, they don't have time to think and read for themselves. So there's an advantage, however, for that to the rest of you that know this, in that you know that the IRS does not have the budget to go after everybody, so they don't. Whether you're filer or non-filer, they just simply cannot come after everybody. Now, funny thing about this is that because the IRS is so busy, they have to process those tax returns that people send in right away. They do them as soon as they can. Because if they don't process those tax returns and send the refund checks, the IRS will be bombarded with calls saying, "Where's my refund check? Where's my money? I sent my return a month ago, 2 months ago, 4 months ago." And who can track all this stuff? You know, what's going on with hundreds of millions of tax returns? It's an impossible job, folks, bureaucracy-wise, to manage it all. They're not gods. They're a bunch of human beings like you and me. You try to manage hundreds of millions of pieces of paperwork. Billions, literally, when you add it up, is billions of pieces of paperwork. They can't. So when people do these things like 1099 OID process, where they claim that the IRS owes them $400,000 because of the straw man or something, okay? The IRS just processes them right away. Cuts the check. I've seen it. One lady came and saw me. She got a check for $386,000. Cashed it, spent it all. Government worker, they made $80,000 a year. Being a teacher, husband was a firefighter, making $120,000 a year. That wasn't enough. She had to go spend all this money within a few months. And the IRS was after her, and none of this other stuff she tried worked. Refusal for fraud, and affidavits of truth, and all these statements that Patriots came out with, that none of them was working. They're still after her. Why is this happening? Because IRS just cut the checks, process them, send them out. And then we'll catch them later, and they catch them later on. So people who don't give the information to the IRS, same way, they cannot come after all of you. According to the IRS, if there's 63 million people in non-filers, do you have 63 million people in jail? No. According to the IRS, and this is again in our Freedom Catalog on page 11, every year they put in jail about 2,000 people, maybe 2,200, or 2,100, and about less than 300 of them are non-filers. The rest are filers or something. So being a non-filer is not such a dangerous thing as people think. But in my opinion, there's another issue. It's not just illegality in income tax, which you heard about this weekend from ex-IRS agent Joe Bannister, Tom Cryer, Steve Hempfling, knowledgeable people. It's more than the fact that there is no law requiring the average American to file and pay income tax. In my opinion, there is a ethical reason. It's not just the constitutional issues, but also an ethical, moral reason. If the government of the United States is no longer representing the average person's interests, if it's bought and sold by moneyed interests, the big banks and corporations, where does it say that you have the duty to blindly follow them and give them money? If these people are committing treason, Obama, Clinton, Bush, the rest of these politicians, and doing all these atrocities to the American people, why do they say you have a duty to ignore it anyhow? Because they do. IRS writes letters to people and they say the income tax has been ruled constitutional by the courts. We will not hear any constitutional or moral or conscientious objections. We won't even discuss them. We don't care about morals. We don't care about the Constitution, and we have no conscience. That's what they say. Now, they don't say it in those words. They just say you cannot bring those issues up. And the judges will tell that to the jury. That's not a defense for this guy we got to get. This tax cheat, filer or non-filer, okay, about these issues, because, you know, we have to do what God, Congress tells people to do, end of story, and you better do what the judge, me, tells you to do, because I know the law, you're a dumb citizen juror. You should do what I tell you because I know more than you, right? Of course, right. That's what goes on out there. So it's up to us, of course, to become knowledgeable about these things and do something about it. And when the person doesn't give that information, the burden's on the IRS. Now you have an opportunity to beat them. And IRS, if they don't follow the proper procedures, you can beat them. They have to do things like issue you a notice of deficiency. They have to send you a letter like the collection due process hearing. And these letters are in this article I wrote called The Progression of the Letters that the IRS sends out. It's also available at our website at livefreenow.org, also at our table outside of Freedom Law School. These letters must be sent out by certified mail to you. Guess what? The IRS doesn't send them out sometimes. Or they don't send them out to your address that they're supposed to send it to. They send it to the wrong address if they do. They mess up more than you think. And if you don't believe me that they do mess up, you can beat them. Go to Freedom Law School's website under livefreenow.org, on the top right under victories, IRS victories. We have many of them. We got right now, I think about 20 of them up there. We got to put more up there. All the time we get them. Okay? Where, you know, they trying to take this person $40,000. Nope. We're going to stop. That was wrongfully done. Okay? They took this person's house illegally, sold it to somebody, and it was got back by the individual that our paralegals helped out. Cases where the IRS claimed this person owed them $300,000, $500,000. The IRS admitted that they were wrong, and they erased the whole tax. They said, you don't owe this money to us. In fact, of course, we have many more cases that are not up there. And these are cases where, by challenging them properly, timely, which is very important, that you challenge them on time by going to tax court or asking for a collection due process hearing. They cannot go into collection and take your money. And you can challenge them, and the challenging them could take 1, 2, 3 years or more to finish. You might beat them in 6 months, 2 years, or longer. We got a lot more of these cases that are going on that the final victory is not there, but the temporary victory is already there in the fact that we stopped them, and it's going to be a matter of time before we beat them at the end. When someone asked me about these things about 6 years ago, Peymon, these things are really going to work? I said, they're the law. Just give us time. Because these cases are in the process. It takes a while for it to come through. Okay? We had a generous student of ours who the IRS took $100,000 of them, totally legally. And we got it back. Okay, in fact, that individual is here today and is a person who helps us with this conference that we do and believes in the freedom movement. He said, thank you very much. He said, here, thank you. You guys are doing such a good job. Let me give you guys some extra to help with the freedom works that you're doing. So if you're not paying the thieves your money, you think you could free that money up perhaps to give to Congressman Ron Paul, Peter Schiff, Freedom Law School, with the People Foundation, other groups that are trying to return America to freedom and Constitution. That was the idea that came to my mind back in 1992. When in 1992 I heard that there is no law requiring people to file pay income tax, I said, aha. As an activist, I said, we always need money to reach people, to advertise, to promote. Libertarian Party cannot win unless we raise money like Republicans and Democrats. And if you're a good Republican or Democrat like Congressman Ron Paul or the Republican or Jim Traffic and Democrat, the good people within these parties, even they need money to reach out and get their message out there. Where are we going to get the money to get these guys in the office so we can get our country back from the thieves and the banksters and big corporations on Wall Street? How? We can't do it. It cannot be done, folks. If it wasn't for the fact that Ron Paul raised $4 million in one day, $6 million on another day, okay, and he was on presidential debates, he wouldn't be able to have the impact that he had. Wouldn't have happened. And of course, he was in there for 20 plus years in Congress, you know, having a consistent track record of standing for the Constitution. So we need these organizations that are around working the work of freedom. They need money to reach out to the American people like Ron Paul. Right now, Peter Schiff is running for U.S. Senate. I donated to him. I'm going to donate to him again. I'm going to give to Ron Paul's son, Rand Paul, running for Senate in Kentucky. And he's doing good. They both are doing good. Ken Miller, running for California governor. He's a patriot. And he's raised money already, several $100,000 already. So how are we going to fund this stuff? My idea was, well, it's very obvious. If there's no law requiring people to file income tax, or we don't have to pay, if you paid this money every year to the thieves, okay, whew, you got that money back in your pocket. Now, you could be short-term about it and say, well, I'm going to spend it all right now. My pocket, my family, bigger car, bigger house, more vacation, you know, eat out more often. You could do that. That's your money, your choice. But if you do that, guess what? Yeah, you got that for yourself. But you doomed yourself in the future, long term, 10 years, 20 years. And worse, your kids and grandkids. Okay? So what I suggest that you may want to consider is, you know what? A third of it, enjoy for yourself and your family. A third of it, save. American people do not save enough. Of course, because we pay so much to Uncle Sam. We need to save more for our future. We're not a saver nation like we used to be. Okay? That's important. That you save for your future of yourself. And a third, give it to whatever freedom organization or cause you believe in that is doing the work that needs to happen to get back America to the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, to have America return to its glorious, you know, freedom and prosperity we had. So, but that's something for you to consider. Now, what we've done as Freedom Law Schools, we offered many courses to help you folks with your rights and freedom. The cornerstone of all that we do is on page 20 of our catalog. It's called A Practical Road to Freedom from Oppressive Taxation and Control. Okay? And this course comes with a 90-day unconditional 100% money-back guarantee. Why? Because you don't know if this is good or bad material. You really don't know. The law library portion of it is on our website for free. So check it out, because you need to know how to use the law library to be able to verify people's claims for yourself. That's the ultimate solution, and we have it there for free to read up anybody's claims and verify it. But we put the money-back guarantee, which will be extended if you ask us, call us, because I want you to know this is good information that will work for you, you know, against IRS, California Franchise Tax Board, traffic tickets, bureaucrats, oppression, and we have more courses built upon that. And that's what I did, folks, from 1994 till year 2001. We developed 11 courses to actually 12. And we retired 2 courses that were not so relevant, because I don't want to put out material that's not relevant and useful. So we had 12 courses. We took out 2. We have 10 courses now that are relevant and useful today. But what happened is that I got students telling me, Peymon, I just don't have the time or interest, or they wouldn't say it, or not quite the intellect or patience to learn all this stuff about the law, become a lawyer like you, you know. Well, I'm not a lawyer, but someone who really knows the law. And what I really like is if someone could just help me. I get educated somewhat. I like to know what's going on out there, know about my rights, but can somebody be there to assist me answer my questions when I have something, and help assist and represent me if necessary, to get these thieves off my back with letters, if necessary, or maybe court papers if they need to be filed. And I got that several times from people. And I realized, well, gee, maybe I should do things a little bit differently. And at the same time, I had paralegals and freedom leaders like the late Dr. Robert Clarkson and Dave Wellington, the gentleman you saw talk about the mortgages, the black gentleman who was talking here Friday, saying, Peymon, you ought to provide this support and consultation services, representation for people, because I think you'll do a very good job, better than anybody else we've seen in the past. And being that I got this feedback from all these sources, I said, I think maybe I'll offer that too. And guess what? It's been a hit. I got, when I offer our courses, we get more people getting these freedom packages that combine the education and the support and representation. We get more of those people get from those than the courses by themselves. Because now we're really, someone's in your corner to get these guys off your back that has experience, has knowledge, and works with the very best paralegals and attorneys in the freedom movement. And I've had the pleasure and honor of meeting these people over the years. I mean, Tom Cryer was just 3 years ago we met. But there are many other people before them. Dave Wellington, Sean O'Connor, Robert Clarkson, others. Some of them came along later on. Joe Bannister in 1999, he resigned from the IRS. In some limited circumstances, his expertise is useful, and he works with us. So none of, Joe Bannister doesn't work for Freedom Law School. He's not an employee of us or anything like that, for example. But if his expertise is useful to help this person or that person, we know who he is, he knows us, and we can work with him. Often I've developed teams of paralegals and attorneys to help people with their situations. Okay? But the number one thing people got to remember is this, folks, and that's what you learn this weekend. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. What the government suggests, the major media suggests, don't worry about your nutrition so much. Just go to your doctor, whatever he tells you, take that drug, take that surgery, chemotherapy, and that's it. Right? Don't pay attention to your nutrition. Raw milk is bad for you. You got to cook your food. All the stuff they're saying, it's too much. Your doctor is it. Wait until your doctor tells you something. Always do what your doctor says. Right? Yeah, MD. That's what the mentality of don't think, don't be responsible. But if you folks eat well, if you exercise, okay, and yeah, if you get plenty of rest, guess what, folks? You will avoid getting sick in the first place and needing all those things. But that's the real solution. So that's why at Freedom Law School, my answer always been education. That's why we are a school. Freedom Law School is about schooling, education that we should have had in junior high school that was not taught to us. So if you're not sure about these things, I suggest start the education process now. Move forward. You may not be ready to jump on board with us maybe this month or this conference, but maybe 3 months from now. Maybe next year. We had a guy who says, Peymon, I came to a conference 2 years ago, and now I'm ready to get the guys on board. He said, this is my time. So everybody has their own different time frame. What I suggest that you want to do is to expedite your time frame as much as you can with proper reading and research and understanding. Okay? Don't do what Mark McAfee says, or I say, or Tom Cryer, or Gary Franchi, or nobody else, or the government, just because we are who we are. You need to know for yourself as a sovereign, free, independent human being what you're doing. You're ultimately responsible for your life, for your health, for your liberty, for your property. No one else is. Ultimately, each of you was created responsible for your life. So take that responsibility seriously and start the education process to freedom. This conference I hope, has been a light going on for some of you who are very new to this, and I know some of you are, to all these sources of information. And I know some of you who's been around the freedom movement for a while longer, I hope it illuminates a lot more and give you more sense of a direction of where you want to go, this direction or there, and find the freedom that you're looking for. We are in the Great Depression, folks. It's going to last a long time, about 15 years or so. That's why I've added the class tomorrow all day on how to prosper in the Great Depression. How to protect your job, your business, your investments, your property, your family. Okay? And prosper. Folks, I had a financial planning background. Being a finance, economics major in university, did real estate mortgages. That was in the early 80s. Then I did financial planning for over 5 years. When I got into the freedom movement, heard about the Federal Reserve, I said, oh, I know about them. Heard about them making money out of thin air. Oh, I knew about that. We'll learn that in Economics 101. He was fraud. We know that. We learned that there. But I didn't know it was, privately owned. Oh, wow. There's a lot more I got to put together. So I'll be able to help you guys with that information. And my goal with the class tomorrow is to help you make a lot more money. Every one of you. So that you can spend it, some of it for yourself and your family now, save some of it, and give rest of it to the freedom movement. Okay? I'm telling you, and if you'd like to donate to us, folks, help us out. At this conference, we can take credit cards. We usually don't. We're going to owe the hotel with food and hotel, everything, about $20,000 roughly. Okay, so we owe them a lot of money. We got to pay them. So we can take credit cards at this conference. If you want to donate that way, we can just go to the front desk. This person want to donate $500 or $1,000 or whatever. One of our students gave us over $2,000 generous donation. Okay, because he believes in our cause, been with us for many years, knows what we're about. Him and his wife said, we're going to continue to support your work because it needs to be done. These conferences, this education needs to happen. So if you believe this is what needs to happen, you can do that. Just go to the outside, give it to our staff there, or let us know if it's by credit card. We can do that. Checks we can take also. That's not a problem. But I hope you got a sense of direction about what you can do. Know the law, know your rights, know the procedures. Okay? Basic procedures. Don't have to be a lawyer. The basic stuff, and we'll teach that to you. It's easy. So easy, an immigrant from Iran can get it. You all, I think just about everybody, most of you were born here, so you should know English better than me and know this stuff better. You will get it. It's not a problem. And then have someone be available to assist you, to guide you. I'm telling you, folks, for me, when I met Sean O'Connor and Dave Wellington back in 1994, 95, I felt so fortunate that I had these two bright men who had so much experience of themselves and the people that came before them, and they were so eager and willing to share it with me. I thought, man, this is great, I don't have to go keep looking around for the right information. And so guess what? I want to take that information that these and other great freedom fighters provided us at Freedom Law School, okay, that we put together for you, to you. And another thing I'd like you to consider doing is start your own Freedom Law School chapter in your hometown. I'm too busy to teach live classes anymore. I really am. So if you're unemployed, if you're underemployed, if you like freedom, folks, in this fight, guess what? We're at Freedom Law School in Utah. Okay? We need one in Orange County. We need one in Inland Empire. Because when I used to do them back in the mid-1990s, I had a dozen people show up to our classes. People drove over 2 hours every week, sometimes, to take the live classes. Okay? It's a different thing. And with this Great Depression, now is the time to do it. This movement grows in economic bad times because people are waking up. In economic good times, we go down because people are not interested. So I don't want to hear from anybody who says, I don't have a job. you got a job. You just got to go earn it. Okay? It's not a guaranteed salary, hourly job. You just got to go out there, fight for freedom. We will help you. We give you all the training tools you need necessary to help your group get going in your, and your own thing. You can call it something else if you want. Don't have to call it Freedom Law School. We have a lot of experience to help you guys get that going. So whether you've been at this for a long time or a newcomer, okay, we want to help you guys, do your own thing in your area, be your leader in your hometown, and grow so that together we can work together, okay? And with like a Ron Paul revolution, when 2012 comes, he's going to run again, I believe, for president, we can get our country back at the national level and local level back. So thank you for listening, folks.